Okay, this is Tim with Fit to the Core. Today in our installment of Feel Better, Move Better, and Perform Better, we're going to target ankle mobility. A lot of times athletes lack proper ankle mobility, which is not only going to increase their chance of injuring their knees because of the fact that if they lose ankle mobility, it's going to go up and they're going to gain mobility at their knee. In other words, they're going to either pronate, and you're going to see how the knee is going to drive into this valgus tension. The other fact is that it's going to be hard for athletes to get good acceleration and change direction when they don't have a proper ankle mobility. They're not going to be able to get all these postural muscles turned on, which are basically all our extensions that are really responsible for acceleration. And if we're also talking about change of direction, athletes need to be able to get a positive shin angle with a flat foot, flat to the perpendicular to the change of direction, in order to not only change directions efficiently, but also so they're not putting their knee at risk as well. So the focus, like I said, is going to be on improving this ankle mobility, which can have a big impact on the chain up through the body. So the first thing we want to do is, do you have proper ankle mobility? So a simple way to do this is just get a measuring tape, put the end against the wall. Alicia here already has some limited ankle mobility, but for you, you want to get your toe, the middle of your toe, and with your foot perpendicular to the wall on the 4-inch line, because 4 inches is going to be appropriate for ankle mobility. You're going to make sure the heel stays flat here. She's going to drive her knee to the wall, so she can get her knee to the wall with the heel staying down. This is where we're getting into dorsiflexion. You want to be able to, if you have ideal ankle mobility, optimal ankle mobility, you should be able to get that knee to the wall on the 4-inch marker without your heel coming off. Also making sure that foot is going to stay perpendicular to the wall. So we don't want your knee, as you drive, to start going over the big toe. So make sure everything goes over the middle of the foot to the wall. Don't compensate, don't go to your heel. So the first thing we're going to do to improve this ankle mobility, she's going to get over here on the lacrosse ball. She's going to roll out the plantar fascia. Okay? A lot of times our fascia can get locked into flexion, which is going to limit our ability to dorsiflex. So think if my foot is locked in to flexion and my plantar fascia is locked here, it's going to be really hard to get it lengthened to get into dorsiflexion. So this is going to be the first strategy we use. You can roll this anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds. She's going to find the most tender spots, digging into the arch, the heel. Anywhere she's going to find tender spots is where she wants to dig. We want to get that fascia release. And from there, we're going to get on the roller. So we're going to work on the calf here, because a lot of times a tight calf is going to also limit your ankle mobility. What she's going to do is we're going to put in a little bit of self-type of active release in here. She's going to roll the calf. Once she finds a tender spot, she's going to dorsiflex. Then she's going to roll her ankle, and then she's going to do a inward circle. So outward circle, inward circle with dorsiflexion as she finds those tender spots, which is going to help release the knots that could be limiting her dorsiflexion of the ankle. Then we're going to take this a little step further now. We're going to get on the stick here. You can either do this against the wall, but I'm just going to have her do this out straight up. Okay, so what we're going to do here, again, we want to make sure that foot is going to be perpendicular. If we're on a wall here, for instance, if on the wall, she's got her toe on that wall, she's going to make sure that knee drives straight over. As she does that, she's going to roll this stick down and come right back up. So again, we're getting a little bit now. We're going to release we're going to get more gastroc on that calf, but she's going to start releasing those knots actively by actually contracting them into the roller, into dorsiflexion. Okay, so this is where we're trying to do it. We're trying to release a lot of the knots that could be locked up in our fascia that's limiting our ankle mobility. Okay, so once we get down there, we're going to start. We got a little bit of mobility, and we got a little bit of self-myofascial release. So now we're going to step over to the wall. We want to make sure as you get to the wall, not only is this going to be a dorsiflexion position on the wall, but you're going to see how she gets that big toe into dorsiflexion. A lot of times, that's what we call a first ray. That toe can get locked into flexion, which can really limit the athlete's ability to dorsiflex. So we've got to make sure that toe is locked up into flexion there. Now she's going to just drive her knee to the wall, and she's going to come right back out. So we're going to be getting some gastroc here, or just think of the calf muscle here. She's going to be stretching and mobilizing. Okay, so we're going to start improving the mobility at some of the limitations of that ankle that could be limiting the ankle mobility. Good. Then from there, we're going to be moving on to our improving our arch strength. A lot of times when athletes are always pronating, so If they're pronating here, they're most likely going to be collapsing into their arch, which is going to put their knee into this valgus position. So we're going to have her do a supination. So we're going to be doing not only supination, but we're also going to be strengthening the arch of her foot. So she's going to roll to the outside of her foot here. She's going to dig her toe into the ground, activate and strengthen that arch, and then collapse it back down and repeat. We want to strengthen those arches. The key is we don't want those arches to collapse. A lot of times that can happen is we lose ankle mobility and we become dominant and pronating that foot, allowing everything to collapse in. Good, so once we get there, we're going to move on to the wall now. We're going to work on a little bit of ankle mobility. So she's going to get her toe to a position toward the wall that she can get the knee to the wall. The key here again, first she's going to take it over her pinky toe. Think almost like we're supinating that foot again, getting her out of her compensation where she's probably going to want to take it in pronation. So we want to keep that heel down. If you have to, you can roll your toes off the ground to make sure that you don't come off the heel. So she's going to go over the pinky toe. Now she's going to go straight over that foot and working on that ankle mobility. As you can see, she's working through full range of motion here. So make sure you get the knee all the way to the wall and bring it all the way back. Good. So now that we've worked on improving mobility through the joint, we've got to add some type of stability to it. So we're going to do some static holds here into dorsiflexion, and we're going to work in all three planes of motion. The first one she's going to do here is going to be in our sagittal plane. Just think anything in front of us. She's going to drive that foot forward, keep the dorsiflexion through the toe, hold for 10 seconds. Now we're going to take it out to our frontal plane. Just think any type of lateral motion. Again, she's going to hold that dorsiflexion, creating a driver that's driving her into that sagittal plane. Frontal plane here. And then we're going rotational. She's going to open that hip up and make sure that knee stays driving over the middle toe. So now we're going to add stability where we created mobility. That's the whole purpose of creating movement foundation first, and then we can start adding stability to it and more dynamic movement that's going to help an athlete perform better on the field. Once they can get into these positions, their speed is going to improve, their change of direction is going to improve, and their chance of injury is going to go